Hello and Merry Christmas 2018. Thought I would bring you a little Christmas cheer here, and on the next few videos that I have coming, I have at least 2 more coming, and get a little meta with the setup I have here at work, at home. This is my green screen and some of the exciting advanced level lighting that I have going on here. Not so advanced really, but I'm kind of proud of it. I'm going to start using more playlists because I'm going to be expanding my videos beyond the Minoans or the Festus Disc or the Romans or J2AY chromosomes. This one is going to be under C.G. Jung, the most underrated psychologist in the history of the world, mostly because he's compared unfavorably against what I think is the most overrated man in the history of the world in any field, Sigmund Freud. This video is going to be about dreams and synchronicities, a specific dream that hit me this weekend. And it's about this, an old t-shirt I had when I was 30 pounds heavier. The important thing is I believe in myself. Actually, this one is about serpents. The big serpent, Lucifer. I've been, this is going to be about a dream. By the way, this video is going to be a lot more freeform, so if I seem to hop back and forth or you see a lot of gaps and skipping around in the editing, forgive me. Experimenting with this. Since there seem to be a lot of people who are able to do this kind of extemporaneous speaking, watch them all the time, so I might as well get into practice. But this is about a dream that I've had. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tools of Carl Jung, C.G. Jung, to maybe help you work through some of the dreams that you have. And another thing that's famous with C.G. Jung is, of course, synchronicity, meaningful coincidence, because I got hit by meaningful coincidence this week. And in fact, the meaningful coincidence provoked the dream. But anyway, I'm going to go over the dream. I'm going to tell you what it is. And then I'm going to interpret it. And and by that I mean, I'm going to talk about what the symbols mean to me, and I'm going to talk about what I've been doing in my life that provoked this dream. So here we go. Here's the dream. So I'm in a place like a Home Depot, and I think it's a Home Depot actually, but I'm like in a reception area where but there's no receptionist there. People are just hanging around, and I'm hanging around there, and there's a mother there. And she has 3 children, 3 very young children, including a baby who she's holding. And the children are playing around there, and she's being their mother, but she's being a pretty damn bad mother because there's this fake ficus tree over by the TV. So there are 2 couches. One couch, I'm looking at the back of it, and she and the baby is sitting in the couch that's facing that couch. So I can see her. The children are playing around, but every once in a while they'll sit in the couch whose back I'm looking at. So I'll see the back of their heads, but I do see them playing around. There's a TV at the head of those couches so you can look at and go brain dead, as we all like to do nowadays. And there's a fake ficus plant right next to that TV. Although it's one of those that looks very, very real. And in that ficus plant is a really, really big, muscular, powerful python. And like I said, this woman is being a pretty bad mother, although she has all the outside attributes of being a good mother, being attentive to the baby and everything like that, and interacting with the children, but it's like there's a serpent there in the ficus, and it's huge. So you know, of course, that this cannot end well. Well, after a while, the serpent just goes batshit crazy. And by the way, this is not, when you're working with a dream, and this is one of the bits of advice, what is your emotional reaction to what's going on here? Because I'll tell you right now, this dream, although in the dream I am horrified, as I appropriately am, this dream is actually a comedy. Okay, so anyway, so all of a sudden this serpent goes batshit crazy, and it just starts hissing, and then it starts, I guess you can say, bouncing around the room. So first, it's like a spring. That's how it's moving around. And it's moving around really, really quick. And it's just going crazy. It's going insane. It's bounce, 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 bounce. And it's bouncing behind the couch with the mother. I'm in a rotating chair. With the mother who's holding the baby. And she's freaking out. Now you're freaking out. And she's holding the baby, and she's crying, and she's screaming. And the kids are in the couch in front of me. And I'm reaching over to grab one. And as I do that, I'm thinking, boy, this is the only time you can grab somebody's kid and run off with them. But I'm going to grab one, but I'm getting kind of pissed off. Here's where your emotions come in. I'm getting kind of pissed off at this woman. I was just like, lady, the serpent is gone, leave. But she's sitting there screaming and just getting hysterical. And then the serpent comes back around behind the couch. Now, it's like a like a spring, just bounce, 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 bounce. And it's just crazy. And this is why it's a comedy. It's like, this is your dream maker. It's like, I'm in the dream and I'm horrified. But at the same time, I'm watching the dream like it's a movie. And the reaction of this serpent and the way this serpent is running around and how ridiculous this looks, because serpents don't move like that. And my horror, that contrast actually makes this hilarious. And so it's just a hilarious dream. And so then the serpent bounces off to some other part of the store, and I hear things crashing down, and I hear people screaming. And I feel sorry for them, because at least I knew the serpent was there. They had no idea this thing was there. And then it comes bouncing around again, bouncing much closer in front of me, because I've moved away from the couch, and the woman's still screaming. And then it comes back down again, and it starts bouncing again. And then it runs into something, and coming this way it has run into a man driving a forklift. And now this serpent is caught up in the forklift, and it's still pissed off. And it's really just pissed off because it's hungry. I can tell this serpent is hungry, it's starving. And everything in this goddamn store is fake. So it's hungry, everything is fake, and the serpent's just like, get me the fuck out of here. And so, now it's caught up in this forklift, and there's a man driving the forklift, and it crashes into some wooden crates, and the serpent goes flying into the crate. And now I feel that I'm worried about this animal, because now, I mean, he just wanted to get out of here, and he was starving, he was hungry. And he just wanted to get out of here, and now I'm worried there's a very good chance that this poor thing is injured. Well, this dream skips, as these dreams often do. And instead of a forklift now, I'm looking at a bulldozer. And the little part of the bulldozer that holds Earth has been raised. And there are people in the bulldozer, including, and by the way, all throughout the dream, people are yelling out, call 911, call 911. And that's all, it's just ridiculous. That's part of the comedy. And obviously people had called 911 because standing up in that bulldozer, and it also has dirt in it. The bulldozer actually has dirt in it, people in it, bulldozer in it, is a fireman, a big, handsome, rugged fireman. He doesn't have his hat on, but you can tell he's a fireman. Hallelujah. I mean, this man is just beautiful. And he's holding the serpent from behind. And he's got a very firm grip on it near its head so he can't turn around and bite him. And he's just handsome and big and just like the archetype of a savior kind of figure. And he laughs and he says, poor thing is just hungry. And I'm thinking, yeah. And that was the end of the dream. So one of the things you need to do when you have a dream is you need to ask yourself, what were you doing that could have provoked that dream? And this is a very vivid dream, very vivid. What were you doing that could have provoked that dream? Well, as it turns out, this dream was provoked by synchronicity, which I'll get into. And don't leave anything out. Don't diminish the importance of anything. For example, well, I dreamed that I was on Mulberry Street. I was on Mulberry Street that day, so that explains everything. Well, why would you be dreaming about being on a street anyway? And was Mulberry Street the only street you were on? I mean, for example, you might not even live on Mulberry Street, so why are you thinking about Mulberry Street? So what was I doing that provoked this dream, and what coincidence or synchronicity provoked this dream? And I'll tell you exactly what it was. I was studying serpents for my upcoming videos. Just to give you a long story short, studying Lucifer. What was Lucifer before he fell? Lucifer was a seraph. The plural is seraphim. And these are guardian angels, although you don't really want to call them angels. An angel is what something does, not what something is. An angel just means messenger. But they're guardians of boundaries. And he is a serpent, just like the seraphim were. And he was winged, and anyway, that's what he was. And I'm studying the Epic of Gilgamesh, which of course has a serpent in it, studying the book of Genesis, the connection with that, studying serpentine biology. And so there's everything serpentine that's going on here. So that's what's happening. And it's involving me in it very directly. But where the emotion comes from, and so what's all going on here? Okay, so I'm studying the serpentine thing. That's one of the things that's happening in my life for the new video. The other thing is I'm in a program called Big Gay Family. It's a gay social network, and you get date coaching and that kind of stuff. Paul Angelo's program, it's a great program. I've talked about this before. He's an INTJ personality just like me. And I'm feeling kind of lost in it, like things are not really working out as well as I'd like. Bottom line, I'm a very strange person, and I'm very skeptical that I'm going to get a boyfriend out of it. But nevertheless, let it be understood, the program works. I'm communicating a lot better than I ever have in my history. I'm talking to my mom better than I ever have in my history. There's another man that I'm talking to on there. He's talking to his mom. And I'm starting to see her as Karen. Not just mom, she's Karen. And I'm starting to see how she's a lot like me, or rather, I'm a lot like her. And I asked that other guy, I says, do you think it's the program that's helping us talk to our mothers better? He says, yeah, I think so. I think it is. But I'm feeling kind of depressed about that because I'm just very skeptical that I'm going to find anybody. And that's okay. I'm a strange bird. For me, it was really due diligence anyway. So we're combining with that. And so I'm already pretty sad. And I've also joined a gay church, a church here in Dallas. It's a big O gay mega church. You can look it up on Google if you want. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm eventually going to review the church though. But don't use Google, use DuckDuckGo because Google spies on you and they don't. Also, Google tries to help you by curating what you're going to see and move stuff that they like to the top, whereas DuckDuckGo will just go with how many people look at the video. They'll go with the true ranking, page ranking of where the video is supposed to show up on a search. So you can go look them up. And I love the church. There are these little things that they do. They'll start out where the minister will be talking and there'll be like a co-minister next to him. And it's almost, it's almost like you're looking at a morning talk show. And another thing that they do is, well, when I was a boy, very, very young, once upon a time, youngsters, believe it or not, TV stations used to cut off for the evening. And they would cut off about 1 o'clock in the morning after a late movie. And they would play, like one of the things that they would play is the Lord's Prayer. And it would be set to music. And they would show images from the Bible. And it was a very, and I remember, I have such fond memories of that Lord's Prayer song. Well, we sing that in this church. And it's such a wonderful thing. And, and there's a part in it that I just feel at such peace because I'm a pilgrim in this world. And sometimes I'm just tired. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And there's just a peace that I feel. That I feel when I do that. And then of course it builds up to the end. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And at this point we all stand up together. We all rise before God. And we stand up. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forevermore. And I swear to God, I swear to you, it feels like we're all being catapulted into heaven together. It is a most wonderful thing. But there's a problem. The church has fallen into one of Satan's snares. Let it be said right now, everything that they're doing comes from a good Christian heart and from a great depth of charity. And if you don't think a homosexual can be a Christian, if you don't think gay people can be Christians, I dare you to go to that church because you're going to find people who love the Lord Jesus Christ there. It's the most amazing thing. And I'm so proud of being Texan and I'm so proud of Dallas and I love my city so much. That's not the only big church full of gay people. We have more than that. And, God bless the South. God bless Texas. But they've sort of, but in the pursuit of their goals, and I will talk about this in a future video, a couple of videos, in fact. They're basically opening doors to hell, frankly. And some infernal deities are going to come marching out of that, and they're going to cause a lot of problems. In pursuit of their goals, for example, loving transgender people, which obviously you should do. They love the people who are part of the caravan. They're Christian souls, have mercy to them. But they are undermining boundaries. In the process of helping those out, you can love the caravan people and you can love transgender people. But in the process of doing this, this is Satan's snare. they're blowing off boundaries. They're minimizing the importance of boundaries. There are boundaries between men and women. And really, I don't like the word transgender. I say transsexual because gender, you're muddying the water. You're throwing us all together into a big pile with continuum. It's like, no, no, no. There are men, there are women. And there might be people straddling the boundary or hopping the boundary, but you're blowing off the boundary. And you can love people from Mexico and Central America, but you still have to respect the boundary between them and between the United States of America. I'm sorry, but Donald Trump is right about this, and you're wrong. But I'm not really arguing about the goals. I'm arguing about the fact that you are subverting, that you are allowing Lucifer to subvert boundaries. Because Lucifer, as I said, is a seraph. Seraph, cherubs, what do? They guard boundaries. And as a person, and as a deity, because they're actually deities, I'll get in, the next video I have coming up is going to be talking about that. They are Elohim, to use the Hebrew. What he did is he enforced boundaries before he fell. And therefore, he knows how important boundaries are for God's good order. And let me tell you this, don't even try to subvert his boundaries, because he will bite your head off, quite literally. Boundaries for me, but not for thee. So that's one of the things that I'm worried about. But, I decided these people are good Christians. It's coming from a good heart. I'm not going to make any kind of fuss about it. I mean, who am I? And so I'm going to church this Sunday, and I come across a roadblock. And I'm like, well, okay, well, I move on down, and I come across another roadblock. And I keep coming to these roadblocks, and I can't get to church. And I'm like, well, what is going on here? And I don't live in this neighborhood. It's like, what is going on here? And also, to be honest, there's been a struggle because of this, because they keep poking the bear, and I'm the bear. They keep bringing up the transgender stuff from that bad orientation, the caravan from that bad orientation. And I'm like, it's a long way traveling here. And there's a beautiful Methodist church that accepts gay people 5 minutes away from my home. I don't know, maybe I should do that. And I've talked to people about this. So this is wearing me down. It's making me very depressed. It's really building up the emotional energy, which comes literally springing out of that serpent in the dream. That's what he's doing. It's just like he's had enough, and he's bounce, 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 bounce. And I'm trying to get around this. And I'm doing let me just say, I'm not going to tell you what all I said and did, but I'm going to tell you this. There were no Christians to be found in that Chevrolet that Sunday morning. I was cussing. I was very, very little charity in my heart. And in my heart. And then I got home and I slammed my door shut in my car, and I slammed the door shut in my apartment, and then I almost throw my phone across the room, and I was like, oh, no, that's the new iPhone. I can't do that. And I'm collapsing my recliner over here, and I'm like, Lord, I just wanted to go to church because it charges my spirit, because the problems that I have there, that I have with them, again, it comes from they love people, they love God. It's coming from a good spot, and it charges my batteries. When I'm leaving that church, I'm smiling and I'm singing. How often do you sing? I'm singing. I'm just so incredibly happy. And instead, I had this anger, this hate in my heart for everybody and for the whole world. And the big gay family doesn't seem to be working out. And I'm a kind of person that seems to rub people raw at the church. A couple of people have already made some bitchy comments to me. I'm like, what did I do? And, and I'm new to the church, and, they're not going to want to hear not going to want to buy what I'm selling. And it's coming from a good spirit. And, and I was just so depressed. And then I got to thinking about it, and I realized that was a serpent in the road that stopped me. That the route for the marathon literally snakes its way through Dallas. I mean, I kind of calmed down a little bit, and I says, okay. I'll go to a Starbucks, and I'll sit there, and I'll go to the 11 o'clock service. And then I try to get to a Starbucks, and I'll be goddamned if that serpent, that route for that marathon, everywhere I go, I'm getting cock-blocked. And cock-blocked, that's important. That's a phrase that I use. In the English, for us, that means, you're going out and you're trying to get laid, and there's a guy who's stopping you. He's interfering. Now, if he's a rival, that's one thing. But this is the kind of guy, he's not going to get laid himself. He's just going to make sure you don't get laid either. So not only did I have this problem, but I was getting cock-blocked by people who didn't seem to know how to drive everywhere I went. And even when I retreated and tried to go home on the highway, they were blocking off parts of the highway for some damn reason. Cock-blocking, that's going to be important for interpreting the dream, because that's what I keep saying that throughout this ordeal. So I finally get on the highway and finally get to a Starbucks. And I'm like, okay, so I'll do my cappuccino. I have some Madeleines, chocolate dip Madeleines, and I'll do some reading. And so I'm reading a 1920 edition of the Epic of Gilgamesh. There's the Pennsylvania one and the Yale Pennsylvania fragment, the Yale fragment. This is from the old Babylonian version. The one that you read of, the standard version, is the much later Akkadian version that they had in Nineveh, the Palace of Nineveh, with some stuff from the old Babylonian filled in. Anyway, I'm not going to that. And I was reading this very fascinating, and I'll be talking about this in the upcoming video. I'm going to do another thing on homosexuality, by the way. This very fascinating survey of how the Epic of Gilgamesh was put together from different stories, and I'll be damned if I didn't lose track of time. And I had just enough time to get on the road and get to church. I was going to be about a minute late, but maybe not if I hurry up. And then I got on the road and I turned the wrong way. And I'm just like, okay, I'll just go home, and then I'll retreat. So, and then I just go home. And then that night, I have the dream. And then, as I realize I'm doing the video, the springing is just like, I had all this built up tension. There's failure. You're failing again. I got the new job at work. I have a lot more responsibility. I have a lot more exposure. I have to be a lot more social than I typically am, because I'm not a very social person. I'm kind of a loner. And all of these things, and there's a couple of people there who seem to have an agenda. And I just can't trust them. And I feel like every time I get in social situations, I fail. And, it's just, I'm an absolute failure. But another thing I'm doing, and this is related, is I'm learning how to play the piano. And I'm so ham-handed with the piano, because you're going to have to learn how to, each finger is going to have to be independent. And I was talking to Paul today, for example, on my coaching session, and I said, you know what? My lack of social skills just comes from the fact that I don't do social things. My sister smokes a lot. Every time she gets stressed out, she grabs a cigarette, and then she's gone. I mean, sometimes I'll be talking to her, and then I realize I'm talking to myself because she's darted off with a cigarette. And I said, Leanne, you're not ever going to learn how to handle your stress until you fail to handle your stress, because you learn a lot through failure. And I realized I have to keep going with the social stuff, because I'm not going to learn how to be social until I fail to be social. And then I make that mistake, and I won't make that mistake again, especially if it's a really bad one. But, I kind of lost my track of time, my train of thought. So anyway, I just need to go in there, and I need to be more social. Whatever's going on here, I'm sure it's important. And what's really happening in the dream is kind of summed up right at the very end. It's that beautiful fireman. And I realize the way he's holding that snake is telling me that, that I'm just very lonely, and that I'm frustrated, and that it's okay. And that's what the synchronicity is about. Because, how the dream really ended was, the guy laughs, he's up there in the bulldozer, and he laughs, and he says, oh, poor thing, he's just hungry. And I'm like, that's right, he's just hungry. That's an awfully big snake you're holding there, fella. So here's an addendum, because I had a couple of things that I thought about on this dream. I mentioned that I was pissed off at this woman. Is there anything about women that women are doing that's pissing me off nowadays? Well, actually it is. And people at my church are not going to like to hear this. But it's become, for the last 40, 50 years, fashionable for women to suppress their femininity. And they're not having children as much as they used to. And I'm sorry, but you're built to have children. And because you're suppressing femininity and you're trying to be a man, which makes it even worse, this mothering instinct is coming out sideways. And you're making your dogs into your babies, you're making your cats into your babies, you're making Muslim immigrants into your babies, you're making Hispanic immigrants into your babies, and you think you're being a good mother. But you're, in fact, if you don't pull your head out of your ass, you're going to get us all killed. And American women seem to be coming around a lot better, but as we saw from the 2016 election, I was gratified to see that. But I'm looking at you women voters in Britain and in Sweden and over in Germany. You need to pull your hat out of your ass because this is serious. And these people, they can be very dangerous. And it's sorry to say, we're not compatible. That's why you have to have boundaries. A few people going back and forth, it's not a problem. You know, maybe after 100 years of interaction, we do merge into one group, but that is something that has to go on its own pace. But you know, you carrying your pathologies into the voting booth and causing all these problems, you're gonna have to take care of that. Now, as far as the seraph go and the seraphim, we have the idea in our head that serpent equals evil. And we think we got that from the Bible. You did not. This is one area that Carl Jung talks about. I read it in his collected works. I don't remember which one. But the serpent is ambiguous. The serpent is wily, and it is a quiet hunter. And it's very wise. But it is not by nature evil. Remember, Lucifer, while we rank among Christians, the seraphim are ranked, I think, among the greatest of the angels. And Lucifer was the greatest of the seraphim. But remember, most of the seraphim stayed loyal to God. In fact, in Isaiah, he has a theophany, a vision of God in the temple, in his throne, and it is surrounded by seraphim. And they're still guarding his throne. So the serpent can be either good or it can be bad. In my case, the serpent is good, but the serpent in relation to the woman is bad. In fact, the serpent is actually in the tree. So, and also I got to thinking, you know, I'm trying to go to church, and this was kind of funny. I thought about this. This was like, gee, I tried to get to church, but I got in a fight with Lucifer. Sorry about that. Because think about it. If this is playing out as I think it is, if Lucifer is subverting boundaries to open the gates of hell, would he want me to go to church? Would he want me to go to this church, since he seems to have got him in his snares? Well, of course not. So like I said, tried to make it to church, got in a fight with Lucifer. Oh, Bill, how do these things always happen to you? Womp womp. Okay, here's another edit. While I'm poking the bear of my church, I might as well keep poking, right? On the issue of the women. This is what happens when you violate boundaries, when you try to cross into other boundaries. Because so many of you are trying to be men and act like men, your own psychology is undermined. And so things come out sideways. And I know Carl Jung sounds sexist, and I sound like I'm some kind of gay misogynist, but accept this, and accept that I'm speaking out of good faith and out of love and charity. And also, I'm the kind of person, and I say this a lot in my videos. If you watch my videos, you know this is true. Anything I say at any time, I'm happy to walk away from. I have no problems. But again, this is the importance of boundaries. You know, I have an Anatolian J2AY chromosome, and I have a lot of the autosomal DNA that goes with it. That's the DNA in your nucleus that's not the sex chromosome. And we're very different. We're Anatolians. We came out of the Caucasus Mountains and the Zagros Mountains back in the Ice Age. And we're just very different from the Northerners who live in, you know, Northwestern Europe and live over here in the United States. And me trying to fit in, cross into their boundaries without showing respect for my own character, my own heritage. It caused me a lot of problems. And in fact, I thought that I was crazy. No, we're just very, very different. So again, take it all in love and charity because that's where it's coming from. I'm happy to be wrong about anything. Now, a few general comments about how dreams will work. You have a shadow and you have an anima figure if you're a man, an animus if you're a woman. The shadow would be, in a dream, would be someone of the same sex. The anima or animus would be the opposite sex. A shadow is not necessarily dark. There's also something called a golden shadow, which I giggle a little bit every time I say it. It sounds like golden showers because I'm still a 10-year-old boy. It's basically a lot of the great stuff about you that's not typically expressed in your conscious orientation. Your anima or your animus is basically your soul. So, you know, they say opposites attract. So maybe I have a heroic firefighter in my future. You know, my words to God's ear. And then the anima figure is the woman with the children. The children would be undeveloped parts of my personality. and here she's playing a comedic role of something that I'm seeing in women, and it's kind of contaminating my anima a bit. That's okay. Now, we think that we are our brains. Well, that's what everybody's telling us. Well, that's not true. We have an eternal component, a part that goes on forever, that never dies. Fun fact, probably one of the reasons why you cannot be saved after you die is because our body, our soul includes our physical body. And when we lose our physical body, we lose our ability, perhaps, for example, maybe to remember anything or to learn anything. And whether you're talking about the Mormons or someone like Carl Jung, psychologist, or Catholics, there seems to be agreement among a lot of people that the people who have died can use our help. That there are things, pray for them, baptize for them in the case of the Mormons, give them psychological counseling. Carl Jung talks about that. Anyway. And so we have the eternal component and we have the physical body, and they're both true and they're both real. So it's helpful to think of your brain like you think about your heart. If you start exercising, your heart picks up pace. If you go to sleep, your heart slows down. Your brain, your dreams, basically try to help you work through the events of your day. If your conscious orientation is unbalanced, it's like a teeter-totter. It'll try to balance you back. If you think about something real hard, you notice if you're thinking about something hard, you start dreaming about it a lot. It's like you don't control your dreams, and yet you kind of do. What's going on is you set the agenda. And so so we see the agenda being set with the dreams. So firefighter is the shadow figure, a golden shadow. The woman, the irresponsible mother, would be my anima. I've included a link to the body language ghost video below because I consider it to be part of the synchronicity. Nancy Pelosi is existentially very stupid. She's been cutting deals with the devil her whole life, and she has confused those deals with political calculation. She's also horrified to discover that she is not really a man, even though she's been talking herself into believing that her whole life, and everybody's been jumping in and help her with that delusion. In the presence of a real alpha male like Donald Trump and even Mike Pence, who's a little bit more subdued, she completely shuts down and reverts to mantras. Of the 4 people in this meeting, 2 of them know exactly what's going on. Donald Trump and Chuck Schumer. And Chuck looks like an old serpent who doesn't know how couches work. I bet if you checked his credit card receipts, you'll find he's in the habit of buying live rats.